My name is Lily Marin, and I am about to tell you how my sister tried to erase my mother's love for me, how she hid the one thing that could have healed my broken heart, and how I made sure the entire world heard what she tried to silence. But let me take you back to the beginning, to the day everything fell apart, the day my mother died. It was a Tuesday morning in late September when the call came. I was in my small apartment, drinking coffee that had gone cold, staring at my laptop screen without really seeing it. My phone buzzed. My father's name lit up the screen. I knew before I even answered. There is something about the weight of silence on the other end of a call that tells you everything. "Lily," he said, and his voice cracked in a way I had never heard before. "She is gone." 2 words. That is all it took for my world to shatter into a million pieces. My mother, the woman who had held our family together with her gentle hands and her endless patience, was gone. She had been sick for a while. Cancer. The kind that creeps in quietly and then roars through your life like a wildfire. We had known it was coming, but knowing does not make it easier. Nothing makes it easier. I drove to my childhood home that same day. The house looked the same from the outside. The white picket fence my father had painted every summer. The rose bushes my mother tended to every morning. The porch swing where we used to sit and talk for hours. But inside, everything felt different. Hollow. Empty. Like the heart had been ripped out of it. My father sat in the living room, his face pale and drawn. My sister, Fiona, was already there. Of course she was. Fiona was always the first to arrive, the first to take charge, the first to make sure everyone knew she was handling things. She stood by the fireplace, perfectly dressed even in grief, her dark hair pulled back in a sleek ponytail. She looked composed, controlled. Everything I was not. "Lily," she said when she saw me, and her voice was soft, almost kind. But there was something in her eyes I could not quite read, something that made me uneasy. "I am so sorry," I whispered, and I went to hug my father. He held me tight, and I felt his body shake with silent sobs. We stayed like that for a long time. Fiona did not join us. She never did. Over the next few days, we made the arrangements. The funeral. The flowers. The music. My mother had left detailed instructions for everything. She always said, "Words last longer than flowers." It was something she believed deeply, that the things we say, the things we write, matter more than any bouquet or memorial stone. And true to her word, she had left something behind. A box of letters. My father told me about them on the 3rd day after she passed. We were sitting in the kitchen, the same kitchen where my mother used to make pancakes every Sunday morning. "She wrote letters," he said quietly, staring into his coffee cup. "One for each of you. For you and Fiona. She spent months working on them. She said she wanted you to have something to hold on to." My heart clenched. Letters. My mother had left me a letter. Words she had chosen carefully, knowing they would be the last she would ever speak to me. "Where are they?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. My father looked up, his eyes red and tired. "They should be in her study. In the old wooden box on her desk. She told me she put them there." I stood up immediately, my heart pounding. I needed to see it. I needed to hold whatever piece of her she had left behind. But when I went to her study, the box was not there. I searched everywhere. Her desk. The drawers. The shelves. Nothing. Panic started to rise in my chest. I went back to the kitchen. "Dad, it is not there. The box. It is gone." He frowned, confused. "That does not make sense. She told me exactly where she put it." Fiona walked in at that moment, holding her phone. "What is wrong?" she asked, her voice calm and measured. "The letters," I said, my voice shaking. "Mom's letters. They are not in her study. Did you move them?" Fiona's expression did not change. She shook her head slowly. "No. I have not seen any letters." "But Dad said." "Maybe she never finished them," Fiona interrupted, her tone gentle but firm. "She was very sick toward the end, Lily. Maybe she did not get the chance." I stared at her. Something in her voice felt wrong. Too smooth. Too certain. But I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. Because the alternative was too painful to consider. So I let it go. I told myself that maybe Fiona was right. Maybe my mother had run out of time. Maybe those letters had never been written. The funeral came and went. It was beautiful and heartbreaking in equal measure. Fiona gave a perfect eulogy. She spoke about our mother with eloquence and poise, and everyone cried. I could barely speak. When it was my turn to say a few words, I choked on them and had to sit back down. Fiona put her hand on my shoulder, a gesture that should have been comforting. But it felt cold, distant. After the funeral, life moved on the way it always does. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. I went back to my job as a graphic designer, though my heart was not in it. Fiona went back to her life as a corporate lawyer, always busy, always successful. We saw each other occasionally. Family dinners. Holidays. But there was a distance between us that had always been there. Fiona was the golden child. The one who excelled at everything. The one who made our parents proud. I was the quiet one. The creative one. The one who never quite measured up. And I had accepted that role a long time ago. But then one Saturday in early spring, everything changed. Our cousin, Marissa, was moving to a new city for a job. She asked if I could help her pack up her apartment. I agreed, grateful for the distraction. Marissa lived in an old building downtown, the kind with creaky floors and high ceilings. We spent the morning boxing up her books and clothes, laughing and reminiscing about old family stories. Can you grab that trunk in the corner? She asked, pointing to a large wooden trunk pushed against the wall. I think there are some old photo albums in there. I walked over and opened it. The smell of old paper and dust hit me immediately. Inside were stacks of photo albums, just as Marissa had said. But beneath them, wrapped in a faded cloth, was something else. A wooden box. My heart stopped. I knew that box. I had seen it 100 times in my mother's study. With trembling hands, I pulled it out and unwrapped the cloth. There, carved into the lid, were the words, "To my daughters with all my love." I opened it. Inside were letters. Dozens of them. All sealed with wax, each one carefully labeled in my mother's handwriting. To Fiona. To Lily. To Fiona. To Lily. Back and forth. A lifetime of words she had poured out for us. But as I sifted through them, my blood ran cold. Every single letter addressed to Fiona was there. But mine. My letters. There was only one. Just one. And the seal had been broken. Someone had opened it. Someone had read it. And then hidden it away. I felt like I could not breathe. Lily? Are you okay? Marissa's voice seemed to come from far away. I looked up at her. Tears streaming down my face. Where did you get this? I whispered. Marissa looked confused. The trunk? It was in storage at your dad's house. Fiona asked me to hold on to it for her a few months ago. Said she needed to clear out some space. Why, Fiona? Of course. She had taken the box. She had hidden it. She had read my letter. And she had kept it from me. The betrayal cut deeper than anything I had ever felt. Deeper than grief. Deeper than loss. This was deliberate. This was cruel. I need to go, I said, carefully placing the box back in the trunk. Lily, what is wrong? I will explain later. I promise. But I need to take this with me. Please. Marissa nodded, still confused, but she helped me carry the trunk to my car. I drove home in a daze, my mind racing. Why would Fiona do this? Why would she hide something so precious, so sacred? What could possibly be in my letter that she did not want me to see? When I got home, I sat on my living room floor and opened the box again. I pulled out the one letter addressed to me. The seal was broken, the edges of the envelope slightly worn, as if it had been handled many times. I opened it with shaking hands. My mother's handwriting filled the page, neat and careful. My dearest Lily, it began. And then I read words that broke me and healed me all at once. You were always the one who felt unseen. But I saw you. I saw your strength in quiet moments, your kindness when no one thanked you. You have always had a tender heart, one that feels deeply and loves fiercely. I know your sister has always shone brighter in the eyes of the world, but never mistake brightness for depth. You, my darling girl, have an ocean inside you. Fiona has always needed to be seen, to be praised, to be validated. And I gave her that, perhaps too much. But you, Lily, you never asked for anything. You gave and gave. Even when you were empty. I see that now. I see how often you were overlooked. How often your gifts were dismissed because they were not loud or flashy. But those gifts, your compassion, your creativity, your ability to sit with someone in their pain and not turn away, those are the things that truly matter. I am so proud of you. Prouder than I ever told you. And I am sorry I did not say it enough. Never let anyone, not even your sister, make you feel small. You have your own light. It is different from hers, but it is just as bright. Let it shine, my darling. Let it shine. I read it 3 times. Then I pressed the letter to my chest and sobbed. These were the words I had needed to hear. The words I had been searching for in the months since she died. And Fiona had kept them from me. Why? The answer came to me slowly, painfully. Because my mother had seen through her. Because in this letter, my mother had named the truth that Fiona spent her whole life avoiding. That being perfect, being admired, being the golden child, was not the same as being loved for who you truly are. And Fiona could not let me have that. She could not let me have the validation she had always taken for granted. The rage that filled me was unlike anything I had ever felt. But I did not confront her. Not yet. I waited. I let the anger simmer and settle into something colder, sharper. I wanted her to feel what I had felt. The shock. The betrayal. The humiliation. And then the opportunity came. Fiona's 40th birthday. She had been planning it for months. It was going to be the event of the year. A rented ballroom downtown, champagne towers, a live band, catering from the most expensive restaurant in the city. She had invited everyone. Family, friends, colleagues, old classmates, neighbors. She wanted it to be perfect. She wanted to be celebrated. And I was going to give her exactly that. A night she would never forget. The party was everything she had envisioned. The ballroom glittered with golden lights and white flowers. Tables were draped in silk, and champagne flowed freely. Fiona wore a stunning dress, emerald green, that hugged her frame perfectly. She looked radiant, in control, untouchable. I arrived quietly, blending into the crowd. I wore a simple black dress, nothing flashy. I did not want to draw attention. Not yet. The evening progressed with toasts and speeches. Her colleagues praised her work ethic. Her friends recounted funny stories. Our father gave a heartfelt speech about how proud he was of her. And through it all, Fiona smiled and laughed and soaked in every moment. Then, as the host was about to move on to the next part of the evening, I stood up. My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it. But my voice, when I spoke, was steady. "Excuse me," I said, loud enough to cut through the chatter. The room fell silent. Heads turned. The host looked at me, surprised. "I would like to say a few words if that is all right." The host glanced at Fiona, who nodded slowly, her smile still in place but her eyes wary. I walked to the small stage at the front of the room. Every step felt like a mile. When I reached the microphone, I looked out at the sea of faces. And then I looked directly at Fiona. "Before we continue celebrating," I began, my voice calm and clear, "I would like to share something. Something very special. Something our mother left behind." I saw Fiona's face pale. Her smile froze. I reached into my purse and pulled out the letter. Slightly yellowed. Folded carefully. My mother's handwriting visible on the envelope. "When our mother passed away," I continued, "she left letters for us. One for me. One for Fiona. Words she wanted us to carry with us after she was gone. But I did not receive my letter. Not at first. It was hidden from me. For months, I believed it was lost. The room was so quiet you could have heard a pin drop. But recently I found it. And tonight, I am going to read it. Because my mother's words were meant to be heard. By me. And by all of you. I unfolded the letter. My hands were shaking, but I forced myself to breathe. And then I began to read. "My dearest Lily." I read every word. Every line. Every truth my mother had written. About being unseen. About having an ocean inside me. About Fiona's need for validation. About my quiet strength. About letting my light shine. When I finished, the silence was deafening. I looked up. Tears were streaming down my face, but I did not care. I looked at Fiona. Her face was white. Her hands were clenched at her sides. Her eyes were filled with something I had never seen before. Shame. Mom's words were meant to guide me, I said, my voice breaking slightly. They were meant to heal me. But someone decided I was not worthy of that comfort. Someone decided to read my letter, judge it, and hide it away. That someone was my sister. Gasps rippled through the crowd. People looked at Fiona, shock and confusion on their faces. I do not know why she did it. I continued, my voice steadier now. Maybe she could not stand the idea that Mom saw me differently than she saw her. Maybe she could not handle the truth in these words. But what I do know is this. Tonight, I reclaim what was stolen from me. I reclaim my mother's love, her wisdom, and her voice. And I will not let anyone, not even my sister, dim the light that my mother saw in me. I folded the letter carefully and placed it back in my purse. Then I looked out at the crowd one last time. Thank you for listening, I said softly. And I walked off the stage. For a moment, no one moved. And then slowly, someone started clapping. Then another person. And another. It was not thunderous applause. It was not a standing ovation. But it was real. It was honest. And it was enough. I walked through the crowd, my head held high. People reached out to touch my arm, to whisper words of support. I saw my father standing near the back, tears streaming down his face. He nodded at me, and I knew he understood. I did not look back at Fiona. I did not need to. I walked out of that ballroom and into the cool night air. And for the first time in my life, I felt free. Free from the shadow of my sister. Free from the belief that I was not enough. Free to be exactly who my mother had always known I was. The days that followed were complicated. Fiona did not call me. She did not text. She did not try to explain. And honestly, I did not need her to. What she had done spoke for itself. Some family members reached out to me, expressing their support. Others sided with Fiona, saying I had humiliated her publicly, that I should have handled it privately. But I did not regret it. Not for a single second. Because sometimes, the truth needs to be spoken out loud. Sometimes it needs witnesses. My father and I grew closer after that night. We would meet for coffee every week, and he would tell me stories about my mother that I had never heard before. About how she had worried she was not a good enough mother to me. About how she had seen the dynamic between Fiona and me but had not known how to fix it. About how, in her final months, she had poured all of her regrets and all of her love into those letters. She wanted you to know, my father said one afternoon, his eyes misty. She wanted you to know that she saw you. That she always saw you. I held his hand and cried. Because even though my mother was gone, I finally felt her presence. I finally felt her love. Weeks turned into months. I started seeing a therapist to process everything. The grief. The betrayal. The complicated mess of emotions that came with standing up to someone you had spent your whole life trying to please. And slowly, I began to heal. I started painting again, something I had given up years ago. I poured my emotions onto canvas, creating abstract pieces filled with color and light. It was my way of letting my light shine, just as my mother had asked. One evening, about 6 months after the party, I received a text from Fiona. Can we talk? I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to let her sit with the consequences of what she had done. But another part of me, the part that still loved her despite everything, wanted to hear what she had to say. So I agreed. We met at a small cafe on the edge of town. Fiona looked different. Tired. Less polished. She did not have that armor of perfection she usually wore. We sat down across from each other, and for a long moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, Fiona broke the silence. I am sorry, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I did not respond. I just waited. I read your letter, she continued, staring down at her coffee cup. I should not have. I know that. But I could not help myself. And when I read what Mom wrote, I felt like she was choosing you over me. Like she was saying you were better than me. And I could not let you have that. Her voice broke, and tears filled her eyes. I have spent my whole life trying to be perfect, she said. Trying to be the daughter Mom and Dad were proud of. And I thought I was succeeding. But reading that letter made me realize that Mom saw right through me. She saw that I was empty, that all my accomplishments meant nothing because I was doing them for the wrong reasons. She looked up at me, her face raw and vulnerable. "I was jealous of you, Lily. I always have been. Because you never needed anyone's approval. You were just you. And people loved you for it. Mom loved you for it. And I could not stand it." I sat with her words, letting them sink in. Part of me wanted to lash out, to tell her how much she had hurt me, but another part of me, the part that my mother had nurtured, felt only sadness. "I am sorry too," I said finally. Fiona looked at me confused. "For what?" "For not standing up to you sooner. For letting you treat me like I was invisible. For believing, even for a second, that you were right. That I was not enough." I paused, choosing my words carefully. "But I am not that person anymore, Fiona. I will never be that person again. And if we are going to have any kind of relationship moving forward, it has to be on equal ground. No more golden child and scapegoat. No more competing for love that should have been freely given. Just two sisters trying to figure out how to move forward." Fiona nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I do not know if I can do that," she admitted. "I do not know if I know how." "Then maybe we start small," I said. "Maybe we start with honesty, and see where it goes." We talked for hours that day. We did not fix everything. Wounds that deep do not heal overnight. But it was a start. And sometimes, a start is all you need. Over the next year, Fiona and I slowly rebuilt our relationship. It was not easy. There were setbacks. There were moments when old patterns resurfaced. But we kept trying. And little by little, we found a new way to be sisters. Not perfect. Not without conflict. But real. And honest. And rooted in something deeper than competition. I also found my voice in other ways. I started a blog where I wrote about grief, family dynamics, and finding your place in the world. To my surprise, it resonated with people. I received messages from readers who had experienced similar situations, who had been overlooked, dismissed, or betrayed by people they loved. And knowing that my story helped them find their own strength made everything I had been through worth it. One afternoon, almost 2 years after that fateful birthday party, I received a package in the mail. It was from my father. Inside was a small wooden box, similar to the one that had held my mother's letters. And inside the box was a single envelope, addressed to me, in my mother's handwriting. My heart raced as I opened it. "My darling Lily," it began. "If you are reading this, it means you found the other letters. And it means you found the courage to claim what was yours. I am so proud of you. I always knew you had a warrior inside you, even when you did not see it yourself. This letter is my final gift to you. Not words of advice or wisdom, but a simple truth. You are enough. You always have been. And you always will be. Live your life with that truth in your heart, and you will never lose your way. I love you, my brave, beautiful girl. Always. Mom." I held the letter to my chest and cried. But this time, they were not tears of grief. They were tears of gratitude. Because my mother had given me exactly what I needed. Not just once, but twice. She had given me her words, her truth, her unwavering belief in who I was. And that was a gift no one could ever take away. Looking back now, I can see how that night at Fiona's birthday party changed everything. Not just for me, but for everyone who was there. It was a moment of truth in a world that so often values appearance over authenticity. It was a reminder that our voices matter, that our stories matter, that we do not have to stay silent in the face of betrayal or injustice. And it was a testament to the power of a mother's love. Even in death, my mother guided me. She gave me the strength to stand up for myself, to reclaim what was mine, to let my light shine. And I will carry that with me for the rest of my life. So this is my story. A story of loss and betrayal. Of finding my voice when it had been silenced. Of learning that being the quiet one does not mean being the weak one. And of discovering that sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is simply tell the truth. No matter how uncomfortable it makes people. No matter who tries to stop you. Because your truth is yours. And no one has the right to take it away. Not even your sister. Especially not your sister. Today, I live my life on my own terms. I paint. I write. I spend time with people who see me for who I truly am. And I carry my mother's words with me everywhere I go. You have your own light. Let it shine. And I do. Every single day. I let it shine. Not for anyone else. But for me. For the little girl who always felt invisible. For the young woman who thought she was not enough. For the daughter who finally heard her mother's voice and believed what she said. I let it shine. And I will never, ever let anyone dim it again. This is my promise to my mother. This is my promise to myself. And this is my message to anyone reading this who has ever felt unseen, unheard, or unworthy. You are not invisible. You are not small. You are not less than. You have an ocean inside you. You have a light that is uniquely yours. And the world needs it. So please, do not let anyone take it from you. Do not let anyone convince you that you are not enough. Because you are. You always have been. And you always will be. Let your light shine. Even if it scares you. Even if it makes others uncomfortable. Even if it means standing alone on a stage. Holding a letter that was meant only for you. And reading it aloud to a room full of strangers. Do it anyway. Because your voice matters. Your story matters. And the world is waiting to hear it. This is what my mother taught me. This is what I learned that night. And this is what I want to pass on to you. So thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for letting me share my truth. And thank you for reminding me, simply by being here, that I am not alone. None of us are. We are all fighting battles that no one else can see. We are all carrying pain that we do not talk about. But we are also all capable of incredible strength, of courage, of resilience, and of love. So whatever you are facing right now, whatever darkness you are walking through, please know this. You are not alone. You are seen. You are valued. And your light, no matter how dim it may feel right now, is desperately needed in this world. So let it shine. For yourself. For the people who love you. And for the mother or father or person who believed in you when you could not believe in yourself. Let it shine. Because that is what they would want. That is what my mother wanted for me. And that is what I want for you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for letting me finally, truly, completely be seen. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of your own strength, or if it gave you the courage to speak your truth, please subscribe to our channel. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Because together, we can create a world where everyone feels seen, heard, and valued. Hit that subscribe button and join our community. Your light matters. Let it shine.